Number 5. The hippopotamus. When you think of Africa, one of the first things to pop into your head is probably all the deadly animals. Lions, cheetahs, that sort of thing. Now, these animals are pretty dangerous carnivores, and while they would prefer to pounce on the everyday gazelle, they might decide you wouldn't make too terrible a snack. Thankfully, you can observe them from afar without getting cut to pieces. Believe it or not, the most dangerous animal on the continent is actually the hippo. You know, that fat herbivore with the wonky teeth and insatiable hunger for plastic marbles? That's right. In Africa, the animal directly responsible for the most deaths continent-wide is the hippo, killing over 500 people per year. Compare that to the big scary sharks that have only killed about 550 people since 1958. Hippos, while they may seem lazy, loathing around in the water and mud all day, are actually easily frightened and very aggressive animals, especially if any of their young are nearby. Get close enough to one of them and you could be jumped by a surprisingly fast 3,000-pound tank with a massive mouth containing huge tusks that can and will turn you inside out in a matter of seconds. It is for these reasons that National Geographic has rated the hippopotamus as the most deadly animal in Africa. Number 4. Japanese pufferfish. Have you ever eaten something really dumb that you probably shouldn't have? Perhaps you were hungry while traveling and decided to purchase an all-natural chocolate bar from an airport in Mexico? Or maybe you ate something a few days over its expiration date. Well, good on you being a risk taker. But imagine eating risky food for every meal. No culture is as famous for eating risky as the Japanese. The most well-known example of the Japanese eating something that could kill them is fugu, or the Japanese pufferfish. This fish apparently tastes like food from the gods themselves, hence its popularity. But the drawback is that the fish is extremely poisonous, and only an expert chef can properly prepare it without contaminating the meat. While some say that the poison just makes you terribly ill, it actually has been found to quickly paralyze anyone that consumes it, making it impossible to breathe. There's no antidote, and the only known and accepted procedure is to support the victim's respiratory system manually until the poison fades. While it's more or less safe to eat in restaurants, people often attempt to prepare it at home, which occasionally leads to accidental deaths. Why does the government allow such dangerous food to be eaten? Well, simply put, it's tradition, and there are also many strict regulations surrounding its preparation. A license to prepare it in a restaurant requires a total of 3 years of training. Furthermore, the liver of the pufferfish, which is often regarded as the most flavorful organ, was banned from restaurants in 1984 because of its high concentration of the poison. So next time you consider throwing out that perfectly good jug of milk because it's 1 day past its expiration date, remember, there are many people that pay lots of money to eat fish that could easily kill them if prepared improperly. Number 3. Heart disease. What if you were told that one of the deadliest things on Earth was almost completely preventable? Well, you'd probably wonder why people haven't gone and prevented that thing yet. In reality, despite many money-raising campaigns, the increase of awareness, and the community programs built around prevention, people everywhere are still falling very ill due to heart disease, also known as cardiovascular disease. Heart disease covers a large number of symptoms such as strokes, heart attacks, and aneurysms, each of which is a very deadly condition that can sneak up on anyone if the necessary precautions are not taken. The problem, however, with preventing heart disease is the number of causes that can lead towards it. Everything from smoking and diabetes to a lack of exercise and obesity can set your body on a short path towards some form of heart disease, making it very hard to prevent despite community efforts. Nevertheless, about 90% of heart disease is preventable, yet it still is the #1 killer worldwide. Apart from continents like Africa where they have other things to worry about, in the year 2013, 17.3 million deaths, that's about 32% of global deaths, were attributed to heart disease in some shape or form. Sure, heart disease appears in the elderly naturally, and there's very little that can be done to prevent that, but it's also very common in the young and middle-aged thanks to bad diets and little exercise. Number 2. Malaria. While the modern day malaria pales in comparison to some of the world's past plagues, it's still pretty much the deadliest thing going around, at least in African countries. Plasmodium, the microorganism responsible for malaria, often spreads via mosquito bites, meaning that a handful of infected mosquitoes can infect an entire African village. Thankfully, malaria mostly thrives in warmer and tropical areas, so depending on how south you live, or north, you're probably safe. But how many people has this virus killed? One researcher, Barack Bloomberg, gave the seemingly ridiculous estimation that malaria has killed roughly half of all humans who have ever lived. While this estimation is not backed up by any other credible sources, many refer to it and cite his research in their arguments. If that number sounds a little too high for you, it has been proven that 1 in 6 African children will die of malaria, so it is possible. Knowing of malaria's deadly properties, the 1950s saw a rather impressive attempt at a global mosquito and malaria eradication program. While they obviously failed to kill every mosquito in the world, they did have quite some success, killing over 40 species of mosquitoes. Since then, modern medicine and hygiene techniques have made malaria virtually preventable, but distribution and funding has remained a massive problem for the people of Africa. Number 1. Botulinum H. Now, a lot of things on this list have killed quite a lot of people or are much more dangerous than you would ever thought. If a crazed supervillain with hopes of killing all of mankind wished to end the world, do you ever think he would take the Plague Inc. approach by creating and mutating their own new strain of malaria? Or perhaps they would prefer to breed an army of hippos and pufferfish and take over the world that way? But these options, while amusing, are expensive and unwieldy. Why not just kill everyone with a little bit of poison? If you want the most bang for your buck, botulinum is by far the choice of champions. Botulinum H is produced by a group of rod-shaped bacterium named Clostridium botulinum, and is by far the most powerful neurotoxin known to man, trumping all other natural and man-made poisons. Funnily enough, there are non-deadly versions of botulinum, such as A and B, commonly used for and known as the main chemical in Botox. You know, that stuff you inject into your face to stop wrinkling? What makes the H poison better than good old-fashioned rat poison, you ask? Botulinum H targets your muscles, completely paralyzing you by blocking the release of a chemical responsible for the communication of your muscles and nervous system. When it reaches your respiratory muscles, those are the ones responsible for contracting your lungs. You're pretty much a goner, as you'll find yourself completely unable to breathe. Not only is this poison super deadly, it's also airborne, and roughly 700 grams of it would be enough to kill every human on Earth. Isn't science fun?